Okay, guys, section 12.4, multiplying binomials. I'm actually going to ask you to multiply some trinomials in here too, but that comes later. All right. Now, the thing about binomials, we don't do this any differently than we did with monomials. It's just we have two terms that we need to distribute now. Okay, so when I look at this first example, okay, this first term, polynomial has two terms in it. Okay, instead of one, if it looked like this, right, we would just do 5 times 3x and 5 times minus 1. You did that last night. Easy enough, right? Okay. Today, no real difference. Today, we just need to do both of them. Negative 2x times 3x is negative 6. I multiply the numbers. Negative 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. And then x times x, x squared. Then I need to multiply negative 2x by negative 1. So negative 2 times negative 1 is positive 2. And then I bring the variable over, x. Now I'm not done because the first polynomial, it has two terms in it. So I also need to distribute, and I'll do this in a different color, 5. So 5 times 3x gives me 15x, positive 15x. And then 5 times minus 1 gives me minus 5. Okay? All right. Now I've distributed everything. Okay? We love distributing. But there's something else I can do up here. Jack, do you see what it is? I see some like terms too, and Jack wants to combine them. I'm going to always write my answer in standard form. And so I'm going to start with the highest power, which is negative 6x squared. There's not another x squared up there, and that's not what Jack was talking about. So I'm just going to bring down the negative 6x squared. But what Jack saw was the positive 2x and the positive 15x. When I put those together, I get plus 17x. Done and done. Now, there's only one thing left, and that's the constant term, minus 5, and I'm just going to bring it down. I can't combine it with anything. Now, guys, there's a couple of things that I want you to know. These two words, quadratic and linear. Guys, we've talked about linear equations this year, and we haven't talked about quadratic. We will talk about that next year. But there are two things we need to know. Linear terms are terms where the variable is raised to the first power. Because if we graph linear equations, the graph is a line. That's why it's called linear. Okay? Now, quadratic, the quadratic term is the term that has x raised to the second power. All right? And we'll talk about that more next year. But when I say quadratic term, I want you to know that I'm talking about the term that has x squared in it. And when I say linear, I want you to know that I'm talking about the linear term, or the term that has x to the first in it. Okay? So when I ask Reed, what's the coefficient for the linear term? No, coefficient is not the variable. We talked about this yesterday, and I told you I'd start screaming at you if you didn't remember this. I'm not screaming at you yet, but I might soon. You're lucky you're leaving early. What is the coefficient of the linear term, Hugh? 17. It's the number in front of the variable. Okay? Positive 17 in this case. CC, you're not getting out of here this easy. What's the coefficient of the quadratic term? Negative 6. Not 6, but negative 6. Well done, guys. I'll see you at the second example.